Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Mr. John Prestidge. John, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Nice to be here.
Now, this is your second time here.
Yes.
Well,
I got lucky.
You got lucky. Hey, what do you think about the fireplace?
I like it.
Sure you do.
I'm just a little bit too warm, though.
Yeah.
But no, that is really nice. I think that's been not working for the last 10 years. This is new to me. Right. To see that fireplace working. And I think somebody took some initiative and went and checked to see what the problem was. I think it'd been posted that the fireplace does not work. So somebody took the initiative, and lo and behold, it is working. Yep. And I think that's pretty nice. It's comforting.
Well, for our viewers, that fireplace that you see right here is located at Hollis Crossing. And we had somebody, and that's why we brought it on, as a picture for the set. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, it hasn't been working for 10 years, and there was a little sign up there that said the fireplace isn't working. And, well, we decided to, hey, why isn't it working?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and come to find out, there was just a small little glitch, and so now it's working. And as you can see, there's a roaring fire.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. So the reason I asked you to come on the show, you write a lot, and you have a lot of other hobbies that you like to do, but I want to talk about your latest publication of your newest book.
Okay. For a number of years, many years, matter of fact, I've been in maybe when the day winds down and I drift off to bed, I might lie there, and while drifting off to sleep, I start to think about maybe nursery rhymes my mother might have told me, or poetry I might have read or learned or memorized. And while drifting off, I find I have an ability to kind of make things rhyme. And it may be because it's something I've seen during the day, a bumper sticker or some abstract thought or something somebody has said to me. And I find I can put it in some sort of a form, and it's kind of free thinking, actually, but I really like it to rhyme. I like it to make sense for something a little kid would read, or some old person, older than I, matter of fact.
And how old are you?
Oh, I think I passed the 80 mark sometime last July.
You're going full steam ahead.
I'm going full steam ahead, yes. I'm very active, Kevin. I walk a lot. I take my camera with me every place I go. And I live in a community that we really love. My wife and I have been there for more than 24 years now. We were the first owners of one of the townhouses. Yeah. And we got a chance to select the one we wanted, which overlooks the wetlands. And the wetlands is kind of a mecca for every unknown. I've seen well over probably 120 or 150 different sightings there since we've been there. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the books, what I've done, I may wake up in the night and I'll jot down something that seemed to make sense. And then in the morning, I'll take those notes and I may sanitize or put them in a better form or complete the rhyme, whatever. And the rhyme must have some uplifting qualities to it. And I also like a touch of humor. But first and foremost, I like it to rhyme. Nothing wrong with free verse, but mine, I discipline myself to make mine rhyme.
Rule number one.
Number one.
It's got to rhyme.
Secondly, it's got to make sense. And as my grandsons say, there's nothing dark and icky in Grandpa John's poetry. And that, to me, is refreshing because I've joined these poetry reading or poetry clubs, and I found it very difficult because it seems like so many people are trying to maybe purge something, and something dark.
You bring that up. I was on the way to the station the other day, and I was listening to a preacher of all things, and he was actually quoting "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe, and his actual struggles in the darkness of that poetry. And This isn't that. This isn't dark. What you're putting on. You're writing things that are uplifting. That was more of a soul-searching issue,
right?
With the Raven, but it was awfully depressing.
Oh, there is some heavy stuff out there.
Yeah.
And some of the poetry groups, it seems like they're really trying to have people share this negative thing that they have been experiencing. And I don't want to do that. I want to do something that somebody can pick it up, they can read it, they can chuckle, they can say, oh, that was terrible, they go on to the next one. There's no really order. You know, I may have grouped things on dogs, I may have grouped things on birds or on something else, but they're just, everything is so random.
Right.
But, you know, little verses, I prefer to call them verses because so many people write poetry, and I don't know what poetry really is. I think verses describes what I'm doing. And I've written 4 of these, and I've self-published, and I usually order them 300 at a time. And one day I said, I'm going to have a book signing. I had a book signing, and I sold 15 in an hour. But yeah, I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur. I enjoy what I'm doing. It's a hobby. And if somebody can come to me, I run into somebody in the market, and they say, oh, I love that one on your family tree. Right. Or on baseball. And to me, that's the reward. That's better than the $10 or $9.95 that this thing retails.
Well, we came to visit you with Kevin and Kylie, both one's in middle school and,
yes.
and Kylie's in grammar school. But they were both sitting on the couch reading their copy that you gave them, mm-hmm. and they were actually interested in it. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about it, and I just looking at their eyes and them giggling and.
Yeah,
I thought that was
young children can. It's nothing hidden in there.
Right.
You know, my wife has a granddaughter named Ellie Eisenklam, lovely little lady. And when she was about 8 years old, she took this book right here, which is Reminiscence, and the REM stands for Rapid Eye Movement Time in My Sleep. This one is Remination. It started out to be Ruminations, but we said, hey,
keep it all in
poetic license allows me to change that a little bit, so it's Reminations.
Right.
And my good wife, she came up with the idea when I was telling her what I was doing. She said, oh, Crumbs from Rem, right? And I said, wow, what a name. And there it is, the first issue number 1, issue number 2, more Crumbs from Rem. This one is still more Crumbs from Rem, and this one
I like the artwork on these.
Even more Crumbs from Rem. My wife's son-in-law does these, and he does a marvelous job. And this one particularly, he says if John is out walking, here are the things that he's liable to see. There's a unicorn, there's a koala bear, there's a leprechaun, Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, there's a monkey,
and of
there's
course,
a
dinosaurs in there, so that ages you.
Track,
right.
a flamingo, my wife's little dog Lamb Chop, a little Pekingese, and a sparrow, and an elephant.
You did a very nice job.
Really did a nice job. And this one was a little different. Here I am sitting in my retirement position here, a rocking chair, with then we had this big old fluffy Noah, the chow.
Chow, yeah.
Here she has that little guy that has short legs. Therefore, recently in Hollis Crossing where we live, somebody has very kindly taken a snowblower and cleaned the trail by the river. And
now you have, what, 3,000 feet of...
There's 3,000 feet of riverfront, which is pretty phenomenal. And it's a 97-acre plot in where the Hollis Crossing community is. And there's so many nice things about it, Kevin. We have some of those lovely neighbors. The grounds, the wildlife, the birds.
That's one of the things that I really wanted to talk a little bit about as well as Reminiscences. But about you've basically been documenting wildlife that people just don't normally see, on whether it's a catbird,
or a mink, or a fisher cat, or fox digging up the snapping turtle eggs on the ball field. You know, I walk a lot, And I looked for these things. My wife and I are both naturalists. You know, we both have always loved birds or wildlife. We've taken 2 trips to the Serengeti on camera safari, and it was just wonderful. But here, I can walk around those loops now that somebody has done this snow blowing. Last year, it was easy. The year before, I had to have snowshoes, but the dog couldn't make it. Right. You know, but now the dog can make it, and it's really enjoyable. But I take that trip, it's nearly a mile. I come back, sit down in the rocking chair, and I look on the deck, and that's why almost everything now that I send out, I have a distribution of about 92 people, most of them within Hollis Crossing, and I copy them on blind copies so that we don't compromise anybody's email. And I put out a photo, and I don't want to overdo it because I don't want people to get bored, and I want it to be something that they may not never have seen. Right. Like pine siskins or
bluebirds.
Bluebirds.
Those are the
Last
most beautiful.
week, I heard the bluebirds, and they make a unique sound. I went out on the deck, and it was so bright I couldn't see it, but I could see about where it landed, and I have a very inexpensive camera. I aimed at that spot, and I got lucky. Yeah. And it was the highest quality photo that I think I've ever taken. And I said, wow, that is really nice. The next day, I saw another bird, which was a northern mockingbird. Now, they're not even supposed to be here at this time of the year, but there he was. So I did the same thing, and that was probably even better than the shot of the bluebird. Now, those are going to be, I'm making some, printing some photos and getting them professionally framed and mounted, and I'm going to put them on either consignment or donate or however into one part of the clubhouse. Right. For people to...
Yeah, they're going to designate a wall for some of your photos. If somebody wanted to see their photos, could they subscribe to your email if they said, listen, Mr. Prestidge?
Every day somebody will say, hey, my mom that lives in Chattanooga, I forward some of your photos to her. Can she get on your distribution? It costs nothing to add a name and email address, and it's fun. And the nicest comments come back. People come back. They may say one word, wow, or they may say beautiful, or they may say, boy, those should go into some sort of a book. So one day I said, aha, a view. Now, most of these I title A View from Our Deck. Right. So there's a view from our deck. There were 2 ospreys. They nested there. And it's so, and that tree is 2/10 of a mile away, but I can see it from the deck, and my inexpensive camera does that. Now, I even listed in here the kind of a camera that I'm using, so if anybody wants this book, they can buy that camera, a camera like that. Now, here are some others, like the Baltimore Oriole and the little bluebird. My wife and I have been caretakers of the nesting boxes, so that bluebirds,
you can see them all around
there are 6 of them. Right. And over the last 3 years, we've had, well, 6 or 7 broods of the eastern bluebirds, which are pretty uncommon. Everybody tries to encourage them to come back. And her great idea was, hey, let's take some of the medical dosage cups. In one of them, we put mealworms. In another, we put water. And we attach them to the side of the nesting boxes. And the bluebird comes back, and he looks, and he says, wow, I just hit the Powerball. So he says, I'm going to tuck those into the mouths of my little children there. And we watch, we clean, we take care, and we hope that nobody goes and opens this box at the wrong time so they fledge early. But if we do allow them to fledge, the little ones, they go up in the canopy, and they hang around, and the parents will hang around for about 2 weeks with them, and they care for them. And then the little ones are on their own, and we immediately clean the nesting box with pine salt, so there's no bugs, and the birds don't mind the odor. And then we get it ready for the next go-around. And pretty soon, here comes a...
How often do they breed?
They may be two to maybe 3 times per year. They will maybe have a new brood. And another thing I do, there's a metal pipe, Now, there's a lot of ground-dwelling insects that are really bad for the environment of the bluebird. So I take STP, which is this oil additive, and several times per summer in the heat, I put that on that pipe because it won't break down in the heat. The birds don't mind it, but you can see it gets black by the end of the summer because all the little insects that have tried to climb onto this, there they are. So it keeps the nest from being invaded.
In your walkarounds also, if you walk on the property of Hollis Crossing, from time to time you'll see these little tags. This is how I got a picture of the first time I actually met you. And you were actually showing the children the different types of trees. And you happen to discover that there is an elm tree?
Well, there's elm, but the chestnut tree, the American chestnut tree, which is almost went away, and now they're trying to recover, and they're doing a pretty decent job. But what I started there was, you know, I'm out walking, and somebody says, there's a guy with a camera and maybe a book in his pocket and binoculars. He must be a naturalist. He must know something. So they say, what kind of a bird was that? And I say, oh, the one in the Norway pine or the red pine. They say, how do you know there was a red pine? Well, see, I thought everybody knew that.
Yeah, of course.
So I said, wow, this is interesting. I bet if people do this walk, they may enjoy knowing what they're seeing. So I contacted a forester, a guy by the name of John Newt out of New Boston, I think he is. Great resource. And I said, John, come and walk around. And furthermore, we have these American chestnuts. We found 7 American chestnut trees on the property. And they're dying off unless somebody cares for them. So what they do is they control the pollination so that they can introduce a Chinese chestnut. Is
that what those bags are?
Yes, they're controlling it to keep it from being pollinated by insects or whatever. They control the pollination. And then if they do this 6 times, then they say, once again, we now have a blight-resistant American chestnut tree, and they'd love for that tree to come back the way it used to be years ago.
We had
you had Kurt Laffin here, and he is a real authority on this.
Yeah, and he said that was the wood of America. It just it's light. It burns bright. It's easy to work with. It's hardwood.
Right. So what I did, I talked to John Newt, and I said, you know, I'd like to tag these. And he said, good idea. Why don't you do it? I said, okay. I recognize probably 40 or 50 different trees, from blackjack oak to bur oak to pin oak to red oak to white oak and so forth. And I know the white pine, I know the red pine, I know the pitch pine and the Scotch pine. So I said, I'm going to tag them. I put the generic name and the Linnaeus name, or Latin. Linnaeus was a Swedish scientist that put that name, and I put my initials and the date at which it was tagged, and I put these on little tags that are weatherproof, because I did it and put them in my pocket and put it to the washer dryer, and they survived without any deterioration. So I tag these, and people come around and say, oh, look, somebody's tagged that tree. What does that mean? Does that mean that somebody's going to cut it down? And that's what happened. The first 35 tags, 29 of them disappeared overnight because somebody said, oh, this is either a treasure hunt or somebody's going to cut these trees down. But then when they saw the Latin or the Linnaeus name, then they said, no, there's something else happening. Right. And shortly after that, you know, we have a volunteer landscape committee. Yep. Some ladies, some are working, some are retired, but they're grand ladies, and they do such a nice job. And one of them, this Lexi Carter, said, you know, we should have a tree adoption program, right, which we did. We pulled that off. And we had 22 children from the community involved. They each had to write an essay or do a drawing or a paper on why I'm adopting that tree. They didn't have to do anything other than adopt it and describe it and tell what its importance is. And I had John Newt come back and do the judgment, because I didn't want to say, oh, I like that little kid, or he did a good job. I wanted it to be totally impartial. So he came back, and we divided him into two groups. The older group up to 8th grade, and then up to 4th grade. And it just worked out so beautifully. And he said, I'm going to introduce this program to every place I make a lecture. Yeah. So it was really a nice, and it was fun. And the kids, I saw one little kid that won. There was a tie for 2nd place in the lower group. One little kid was about 5 years old. And it was raining like crazy. And he came with a watering can, he and his dad. And his dad said, Logan, you don't have to really water that. He said, Dad, I adopted this. I want to make sure it's cared for. To me, we have reached somebody.
Yeah,
I said,
so,
that's a lot better than watching the Wii or doing the electronic
Hey,
game.
Dad, I got some skin in the game here. This is my tree, right? That's fun.
So it's so fun to see that kind of, and these little kids come, hey, Mr. John, what kind of tree is this? You know, and I've seen people come around with the whole list that I made. A little young lady and her mom came around, and they found about 36 of the 50 trees. Now, some of these are little swamp white oak are only this big. Sweet ferns are this big. It could be shrubs or trees. That was my idea, because knowledge is what I wanted to.
So Hollis Crossing, really, I mean, it's right on the border of Hollis. It's in a really nice area. It's a treasure in Nashua. It's a nice community.
We've been there 24 years, and every time we go home, we always felt, hey, we're going on vacation. This is really nice. Yeah. And we have, as I say, looking over that wetlands, you know, I can look out there, I can see eagles. Yeah. I can see great horned owls. I can see great blue herons. I can see American bitterns. And I see migratory ducks come in there. Swans come sneaking up, looking, what's happening, guys? You know, and in the spring we open our windows and hear the peepers. Oh, you know,
it doesn't get better than that.
It doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. The Serengeti and the Gorogoro Crater are wonderful. But here we are, right here, with our friends and our neighbors, right in Nashua.
Hey, I got an idea for another book, and maybe you've already thought about this, but Carolisms. We have in our studio audience Mrs. Prestidge, yes. Carol, and Carol is very witty, very bright, and very lovely, and she comes out with some of the wittiest little sayings.
She does. They call it Carol speak.
Carol speak.
We have, her son-in-law has upgraded this about 3 or 4 iterations now. However, it'd have to be sanitized a little bit, because somebody may not really think it's exactly what should be listened to. Another thing that I had volunteered one time, you know, you see so many dogs. The community there's a nice bunch of dogs. And I will run into somebody in the market, and they'll say, hi, John, how's Lamb Chop? Lamb Chop is my wife's little dog. And I'll say, gee, I know this guy, but his dog isn't with him, so I can't really identify him. So,
it's like being at the dentist. Oh, I recognize that mouth.
So what I was suggesting, one time I volunteered. I said, everybody give me a picture, their best quality picture of their dog. Tell me a little bit about it, what its breed is, why they have it, something unique. Was it a rescue? Was it a service dog? And I was going to put together a book like something like this, which is so fun and so easy to do, and put out a book that, you know, use it for fun. If somebody wants to buy it, I don't want to make any money, but let's make some money for the landscape committee.
Right.
And each person will have a copy of it, and they can see.
Oh, that's Bear. Bear's a rescue dog, and by the way, Bear rescued such and such,
or Pickles, the little dachshund, or Carol had another dog, Noah, that was unbelievable, and Lamb Chop is a little bit unusual too. That was from Sherry Lewis's.
Good old Joe walks around with his. I forget the name of his dog.
Crookie.
Crookie.
Crookie, sure.
Oh, he loves that dog.
And Mark with his big dog. Zeus.
Zeus, the Doberman.
The Doberman.
Oh my gosh, that is a beautiful dog. I would not want to get him mad.
No, I wouldn't either, but he'll come and put his foot on top of Lamb Chop's head. Lamb Chop loves it.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of things, and books like this are so easy to make. And I sold about 35 of them, and I think I made $1 each. But what I did...
That's about Hollis Crossing.
This is about Hollis Crossing. And what I did, the first one I gave to the landscape committee girls, ladies, because I thought, gee, they do such a nice job. So I gave it to them, and they said, you know, this would be a great fundraising book. So it cost like $35 in small quantities. Right. And for each one I sold for $37 or something. They got $2, and maybe it was $38. So I got $1.
If somebody wanted to purchase these from you, could they just email you?
Yeah, or they could tell me what they want. If they want, I can upgrade this so easily. And same with any of these. Now these, I'd even give somebody this. I'm given.
You're not in it for the money, John.
I'm not in it for the money. These, I told my wife today, these are the last ones we have. You know, I've got them in Japan, I've got them in Africa, I've got them in Europe, I've got them in Portugal, I've got them in Scotland, in all over this country, because several times I've ordered 300 at a time. This one I just ordered 300, and to friends and relatives I've sent out about 50 or 60. Let me show you the kind of...
Could you read one to us?
Sure. You know, I had one picked out I thought was my family tree. Now, one of the young men in the Hannaford, in the seafood department, I gave him one. Next day, John, I've been looking for you. I love the one of the family tree. I should review my family tree and see how it relates to me, or better yet, see where I fit and how I may relate to it. In my family tree, among branches and leaves, I hope I don't find some bad guys or thieves. You know, he liked that.
That's nice.
You know, and it's just...
Read another one.
Another one. Spiders. I heard that Miss Muffet was having a ball when a too friendly spider just spoiled it all. She was having a snack on some curds and some whey when that pushy arachnid messed up her day. I've seen many spiders and webs they were making. I'm sure that's the source of the question, what's shaking? There are lots of weird spiders, to name just a few. There are browns and recluse and black widows too. In a web building contest, the spider's the winner, while the other contestants are asked in for dinner. Now, you know what that means.
Yes, we do.
But anyway, that's a kind of a thing that, here's one more. I took this little dog to training down to PetSmart.
PetSmart here on Amherst Street.
In Amherst. It was down back of Barnes & Noble. And Melanie Nichols, the trainer, really a classy person, a great trainer. So, training of the pup and me. We want to make it to the class, at least we're going to try. You wonder whom I'm speaking of, the little pup and I. He's really glad that he can go while acting so much like a clown. He always lets his feelings show and learns the words like sit and down. There are lots more things he needs to know as far as he and I can tell. The trainer says that this is so. The pup thinks he has trained me well. So that's a kind of a thing. And you know, there's nothing dark or icky about it.
No.
So, little kids.
Do you mind sharing your email address so if somebody wants to get in touch with you?
It's John C. Prestidge, Prestidge, @gmail.com. Very simple. You know, I'm at 63 Bartimus Trail. If somebody wants one of these, knock on my door. If I have them left, I'll sign it for them. And
I'd like to see you in the high schools or the junior highs, or middle schools they call them now. Yeah. Read some of these.
As I was saying earlier, little Ellie Eisenklam, who was 8th grade, or 8 years old, she came to me and she said, Johnny, I read every word in that book. And I told my teacher, my step-grandfather wrote that. And the teacher said, no, I don't think so. So Ellie opened it and showed her name was in it. So the teacher said, wow, that's nice. Can we donate that to the 3rd grade library in the Dunstable-Groton school system? So Ellie said, sure, Johnny will give me another one. So
Yeah.
that's
Very
what
nice.
that's
quite the legacy that you're leaving.
And I read these at bookstores sometimes, and I've read them at other occasions, and people seem to like them.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
And
Talking about your new book. I wanted to give you a little bit of a blurb. I love your books. I love your photos. And, of course, we love you because you're the treasure of Hollis Crossing. That's for sure. You and Carol.
Carol and I really love that place. And the neighbors, we have some marvelous neighbors. Mm-hmm. And there's so many good vibes. Once in a while there's some negative ones, but they're going to be in any community.
There's always a naysayer here and there.
But thank you.
Welcome again, thank you for coming on the show, and I want to thank the people for watching Gate City Chronicles. If you have any questions and you want to get in touch with John, please email him, and you'll see how easy it is. And you'll actually really enjoy these books and some of the photos. I'm sure he can share some of them online with you as well. So until next week, thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles. We'll see you.